Hey. Oh man, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to Unleash Your Life Force. I'm your host, Dr. Natasha Nelson. And so, in this series, in this podcast, it's really about the somatic healing and how to go about integrating the mind body connection, the emotional health, our physical health. So that's what the next episodes are going to be about. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for the feedback. Last week's episode about the feet was my first one back in like 6 months, and really put so much time and effort on how to make the podcast better, how to make it interesting, but really how to make it helpful for you to learn how to understand the language of your body, how to interpret what your body is saying, and how to integrate that into your health and healing practice, and what that means physically as well as emotionally. And so thank you, because, of course, just getting back and back to talking, back to sharing. And I don't always know when I put things together how it's going to go. So thank you for letting me know what helped, what didn't. And I always love your comments. So I appreciate you for being here with me today. And hopefully today is just as helpful, if not more so, as we go. So today it's going to be about the ankles. And ankles, we don't give much thought to them until they hurt, or until we sprain them, until they're swollen, until we feel like we don't know what's going on, or if we're in a cast or something has happened that makes our ankles hurt. And the ankles and feet go together. There is going to be some overlap, but they are different. And that's what I want to do today, is really help highlight how they're the same, but really how they're different, and the meaning behind the ankles that is different from the feet and toes. All right, so here we go. Oh. So I want you to think about some of the common phrases used when talking about the ankles. So think about those sayings like ankles up, which really has to do with when you're submerged or overwhelmed by a situation. You can hear the phrase to bring somebody to heel, which is subduing a person by force. And there's also to cool one's heels, which is to pause. There are others, but those are the ones that I chose for today that are more relevant. And really about the ankles, what it's trying to tell us, and really where it comes from in those sayings. Because there's so much content, there's so much in there that it's easy to overlook and gloss over the ankles, or to just, shove them into the area of feet as well. So I want you to think about, though, with the heel, our ankles, heel, but really in the back part is the Achilles heel. And yes, the heel, you think, oh, well, that's part of the foot, kind of. But it's also overlaps in part of the ankle. And the Achilles heel, think about remember studying Greek mythology? The Greek hero in the Trojan War. You're like, what? Remember learning that? Yes. But really, we've heard the term, Achilles heel. What is your Achilles heel? So what does that even mean? The Achilles heel refers to a weakness that we have. And how does that relate to Greek mythology? Well, the story goes that at birth, Achilles' mom wanting him to be immortal. So she dipped the body into the Styx River because the water would make him immortal. And in order for her to dip him into the river, she had to hold him by the ankle and really by one foot in order to dip him into the water. So where her hand was on his ankle was the one part that did not touch the water. So therefore, the one part that is not immortal, it's a weakness. It's the Achilles heel. It's the part that he was vulnerable and weak at. So in this one spot, Achilles, as the warrior hero, he dies because an arrow wounds him in the spot of his foot and ankle where he was held by his mother. So that's how they come to the term the Achilles heel. It's the one spot that was weak, that was vulnerable. And that's how we're going to lead into the ankles. You know, the reason I want to do this is really to help clarify. People think about a weakness and vulnerability as if that makes us less than or that it compromises us. And there's a difference between being tender, being soft, or being gentle, and being weak. But weak is also in the definition of how most people think about a weakness and vulnerability. And I think that in order to understand the meaning in the ankles, it's being able to clarify what it means to be vulnerable or weak. But I really want to, I think at heart, so much of what I like to do is teach. And I love pictures. So I want to show you a picture. If you look at the ankle, these are the bones. There's the bones, the tendons of the foot, but there's the ankle. It's right out of the Gray's Anatomy coloring book, which I love. It's part of the healing process of understanding how the body actually looks and how it works. So the ankle, there's three main bones, and it really has to do with absorbing shock. It's a natural shock absorber. It's flexibility. It's really about how we move, how light and quick do the ankles move in order to point the toes, dorsiflex. They roll, but you don't want to roll too far because then it'll sprain the ankle. So I want you to think about how that relates to what it means to be vulnerable and how vulnerability can show up in an area that is our weakness because we don't realize that it's there. So every human being, has a vulnerability. It could be a physical, it could be chemical, nutritional, emotional, mental, or spiritual. And a weakness refers to where has there been a traumatic event or a wound, but where really, I think the language of the ankle is about an unexamined belief, something about how life works or your own personal operating system. There's a belief system. We all have them. Most of them at this point are unconscious in our belief system. We just operate, we do what we do, keep doing it until something gets our attention and makes us look at it differently. And the ankle does that. The ankle is about getting our attention to the operating system of how we move forward, how we change directions, the flexibility of our balance, our weight, the feet, the ankles. You know, as a chiropractor, it's the first thing that I look at when I do an exam, because you can have low back pain, but it's really an ankle issue. You can have headaches that are caused from an unbalanced and uneven ankle and foot issue. So I've got to look at the whole chain because it's all connected. So if you experience, constant sprained ankles or rolled ankles, if you have ankle injuries that don't heal completely, and your ankles always feel like a little bit wobbly, a little bit weak, you feel like they kind of give out on you when you're walking or running or just in the middle of the grocery store, there's something that's unstable in the structure of your ankles. Yes, it could be the bones, ligaments, tendons, the nerves. No, you don't really, all of it. And so really, I want you to kind of slow it down here and think about the ankles from a position of their function and their structure. That's meant to absorb weight. It's meant to move forward and backward as your feet and ankles. It's about balance. It's about the equal weight distribution on the right and left side of your legs and your feet. So I want you to think about that. Where in your life are you potentially like unbalanced, uneven in the weight distribution, the right and left side? We all tend to favor one side. If you think about when you sit, if you cross your legs, we have a tendency to cross the same leg. We have a favorability for one side. If you lean on one leg, you tend to like one side more than the other. If you had to stand on one leg and close your eyes, you'd have a favorite. One side feels stronger, more stable. So it's the other side, the opposite leg, that feels unstable, feels weak, feels wobbly. Where in your life are you not as strong or as stable? This can show up in masculine, feminine energies. This can show up in any of the dualities, from being creative versus intellectual. It can be very athletic and academic. So the two parts that go together to create the whole, but on opposite sides. Where is it that you might be overdeveloped in one area of your life that you need to develop the other side? And so there's not really a right or wrong answer. It's for you to start feeling into what is at the root that is draining the energy in your ankles, that compromises the energy, leaving you exposed to chronic injuries or illness or a type of dysfunction. Doesn't have to be pain related. It could just be that they feel really stiff, really loose. They feel like they're going to give out on you. The ankles are also responsible for like the quick twitch movement. There's a lot of proprioception, which is the nerve endings around the structures that every time you go up the stairs or down the stairs, your ankles and foot have to stabilize in order to stabilize the whole chain of your leg to move you forward. So is it possible that maybe very similar to like your feet, where is it that you might be moving too fast? You might be skipping steps. You might be trying to bypass. Maybe you're trying to, not intentionally or maliciously, but cheat. Maybe it's cheating, like cutting a corner, trying to do something too fast. Maybe you're missing the details. Where are you impatient that you don't want to take the time to review and evaluate word by word, sentence by sentence, anything, that project that you may be working on, that there's some skipped steps. Sometimes those skipped steps, it's you just didn't know. You didn't realize that there was something missing. So your ankles injuries are there to slow you down, forcing you to go a little slower, move a little slower, to feel your way through. Because very much, just like in life, when we don't know for sure and have absolute certainty, we don't want to run and rush and just do it all. Sometimes we need to take a step, feel stable, take another step, feel stable, which makes us feel very slow. Just like watching a baby learning how to walk, that's just kind of, you take a step and you wobble, and you take a step and you wobble. But that's what's meant to help develop and help feel our way through what we're doing. Because maybe could be a project, maybe it's meeting new people. You're in a new work environment, and while you know what to do for your work, maybe it's you're not sure about your coworkers or people around you. So instead of just 2 feet all in from the beginning, maybe it's slowing your step in order to feel your way as you go. That's part of what allows to feel stable, is take a step, look at the environment, feel the feelings. Feel, do you trust what's around you? Do you trust the information you're receiving? It's not that if having a weakness in the ankles, it's not that you're doing something wrong. No, sometimes it's just your soul's way of saying, hey, I need you to slow down and wait for the next step to unfold and to show up before you move. Maybe it's your soul saying, there's a lot going on, a lot of moving pieces. Don't go too fast and get too far ahead of yourself. Slow it down and take the time to feel through what you're doing, and also to pay attention so you don't miss opportunities that are showing up with you. Because yes, sometimes we need to pay attention to the danger and move out of the way and recognize it. But it's also about the opportunities that we have to slow down, and slow down enough to recognize what's there so that we see it, but the mind takes a moment to comprehend it. And then for us to have a thought about it takes a moment. So an ankle issue can be how your soul's way of saying, listen, you've been going too fast, which is great. It's all fine, but I need you to slow down at this time during this specific period of time. Could be a week, could be 6 months. If it's an Achilles, it might be a year. Your soul is saying, I needed you to stop. So ankles, it's a little bit shorter because they do tie in with the feet. So go back to, and if you haven't listened to the previous episode about the feet, there's a lot of overlap about the feet that absorbs the shock and allows for balance. So the foot and the ankle work together as a unit, because they are, but I wanted to separate them because they're a little bit different in how the injuries or illness or dysfunction can show up. So that's today's episode about the ankle. It's really about Balance, it's about the weight distribution equally on both sides. It's about paying attention to where you may be overdeveloped in one aspect and underdeveloped in another. Not because it's bad or wrong, it's just, you know, you haven't done it. And now it's time. Your soul is saying, I need you to catch up and, develop the other side of you too. And have some balance. Balance in how you present, balance in who you are, balance in taking everything about who you are in order to move forward equally and balanced and smoothly. And then as you start to feel balanced, then you can start to take steps. And then those steps, when they're balanced, can help you walk and then run and then move and do everything that you want to do. And you can speed it up when you've developed the foundation and the balance there. So some of the skills, I want you to think about where to put your energy and focus. The skill is going to be how to feel comfortable when you are forced to pause. Because as humans, we like to just force our way through and to the next step and doing what we're going to do. We're like, oh, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to force my way. I'm going to make it happen. There's a place for that. But sometimes instead of forcing, we've got to learn to feel comfortable enough to find that inner peace that says, I can pause and I can wait. And really about using the pause to reassess the direction that you are moving in. Sometimes you just need a slight shift. Oh, okay. Instead of this way, I'll go this way. Sometimes the shift has to be, 90 degree, sometimes a full 180. The pause helps us reevaluate the direction that we're going in, what we are doing, why we are doing it, if it's still not just effective, but if it's still something that we actually want to do. If you've been doing it out of habit and it's worked, sometimes our human mind just continues to do it. And our soul says, time to change it up. And if you're not going to do it, the soul's like, I will help you. So the skill for today is really about learning how to be at peace in the pause before moving forward too fast. So I hope that this is helpful. Thank you so much for being here with me today on Unleash Your Life Force. Feel free to leave me a comment. I love hearing the feedback and questions or comments or anything that you have to share. Please do. I appreciate connecting with you. So until next time, yes, feel your feelings or your body will feel them for you. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.